The Amazing Readathon is great for getting a bunch of books off your TBR, which my brain took to mean, and you should start filling that gap immediately. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife, and today I am bringing you a book haul that I really should not be bringing you. My birthday is way too close, and I'm going to be buying way too many books for me to already have a huge stack that it is okay for me to show you. But there are so many books in here, and there's also a couple that I really want to get reading for the Amazing Readathon and get talking about. So let's go through what's on the list. First one up is actually a pre-order from Christmas, and that is Truly Madly Deeply by Alexandria Bellefleur. I have loved every single book of hers that I have read so far, and I know that Cal and Brie read this as part of their Not Your Mom's Boozy Book Club back in May, I think, and they absolutely loved it. So I need to go and read this so that I can get involved in discussions with them, so that I can talk to them about it, so that I can go and watch the live show, because I didn't want to watch it having not read the book. I knew that it was coming to me, but by the time that they were doing it, I didn't have my copy physically. This book is about Truly and Colin, who are put together as the podcast's hosts for a radio show, and they instantly have a bad connection between the two of them. However, Colin basically grovels for Truly's forgiveness, and she puts their differences aside just for now and decides that she's going to give them another try. As they're talking behind the scenes and they get to know each other a little bit more, and they find out some things that they are sharing in common, including a shared sexuality, they start to get a little bit closer to one another. As I said, I've loved every single book of Alexandria Bellefleur's that I've read so far, and I have really high hopes for this one. A much more recent purchase is The Husbands by Holly Gramazio. I was influenced to purchase this from Brie, who was further influenced to purchase this from Kayla from Books with Lala. This sounds so intriguing. This is about a woman who comes home one night and finds her husband sitting at the kitchen table waiting for her to come home, except that she is not married. She is completely single and she has no idea where this man has come from. She sends him up to the attic, however, because she's got a couple of odd jobs around the house that needs to be done, and when he comes back down, he is yet another completely different man. What she discovers is that when she sends men up to her attic, they will come down as a completely different person, and she has this kind of revolving door of men who can come throughout her house. I'm so intrigued by this story. This sounds like such an interesting story. Cannot wait to pick it up. One that I was influenced for is In Memoriam by Alice Wynne. I saw this on Luke's book blog, and he does these kind of 30-second silent book reviews for what he's read over the past month, and In Memoriam came up as one of those that he had read. I think it was maybe April or May. And I was so intrigued just by his reaction to the book and just by how his review looked. I instantly went out and bought it. It went soaring to the top of my TBR. This book is about Gaunt and Elwood, who've been friends since they were children and have always harboured feelings for one another, but neither of the other knows this. However, this book is set in 1914, and when Gaunt is enlisted into the British Army to go and fight the German troops, and Elwood follows him quite soon afterwards, the two men are brought into a world that is much more dangerous than they could ever have imagined them being in. I might be a little bit late to get started into a read-along that is happening right now, but I picked up a copy of Flawless by Elsie Silver. I've heard so many people talking about this one, and I know it's a little bit of a bone of contention with some people. Some people have absolutely loved this book, some people have truly hated it. I know that there's a lot of people who feel that way about Icebreaker, and I want to see what side of the fence I sit on this time. There are so many of my friends who have read this and said that it just wasn't for them, but our tastes can differ at times. There are books that I have loved that they haven't, there are books that they have loved that I haven't, so I just want to see what's going to happen. This is a new venture for me, as this is a cowboy romance. It's not an area of the bookshelves that I have tread into very often, but I am interested to see how it's going to go. It is about a professional bull rider who is sent a kind of a babysitter who has to keep an eye on him while he cleans up his image. And of course, the two are going to fall for one another. This is also the first in a series, and I held myself back in the bookshop and only bought the first in the series. So pat on the back for me there, and let's see if I want to continue on with the series afterward. One of my auto-buy authors had a new book out in May, and I had to go and pick it up. So I picked up a copy of The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. This is about Anna and West, who knew each other when they were in college, and they had a kind of a marriage of convenience to help each other out. Anna needed the marriage so that she could get campus housing because she wasn't on any of the waiting lists anywhere else, and West needed to be married so that he could get his hands on his family's fortune because of the stipulation in the will that if he wasn't married, he would forfeit every single cent. They had a plan to get divorced after they had graduated and go on their separate ways, and this is almost what happened. They did meet up and they did say that they were going to split the marriage up, but the divorce papers were never filed or they were incorrectly signed, and the two are still married. Things are now starting to heat up in West's family, and he is so much closer to the fortune than he thought that he ever would be, but he still needs to pretend that he is married. So he calls up Anna, who is now a struggling artist, and asks her if she would mind keeping up her side of the bargain. But a fake marriage and fake feelings never particularly stay fake for long. I absolutely adore Christina Lauren. I've read all of their contemporary romance books so far, and I've really had a great time with all of them, except for one, which was a second chance romance that just isn't my kind of vibe. So I'm really hoping that this one is going to be right up at the top as well. When the sequel to Brooklyn was announced, I instantly knew that I wanted to read it, and I've had a couple of friends who've also read it and they have also loved it. So I was super influenced and I went out and picked up Long Island by Colm Tóibín. As I said, this is the sequel to Brooklyn and it takes place about 30 years or so after the events of Brooklyn. We're still following Eilish and Tony. They are still married and now they have 2 grown-up children, and the marriage is starting to become a little stale. A woman turns up on Eilish's front door one night and says that she is Tony's affair partner, and this sends Eilish's life into a complete spin. She heads back to Wexford, heads back to the comfort of her home and her family, and we all know what happened when she was in Wexford at the end of Brooklyn, and I am interested to see if that thread is going to be pulled a little bit further in this book. From Hachette, Ireland, I was sent a copy of Somebody Knows by Michelle McDonough, and I am so intrigued by this. This is a thriller following Cara, who is an investigative journalist, and on her adoptive mother's deathbed, Cara learns that her and her adoptive mother have a connection to Lucia Casey. Lucia was found dead in a bog in the middle of Ireland back in the 1970s, and Cara is determined to discover what happened to her because her murder and her death was never really solved. Cara's investigation brings her a lot closer to the Casey family, and she unearths a mystery that has been buried for decades. I've never read anything by Michelle McDonough before, but I'm really interested to get into this one because I love books that are set in Ireland. I love something that's going to keep me gripped and keep me at the edge of my seat, and I have a feeling that this is exactly what that book's going to do. Then I had a phone call from a friend of mine. In my friend group, I am known as the book girl, and if you need a book recommendation, you come to me. If you need something that you're going on holiday and you want to bring something with you, you come to me. If it's Father's Day, you want to buy your book, you come to me. And she asked me, I need something that's just going to keep my mind off of some things that are happening at the moment. So I said, you know what? I've got 4 books. I will send them out to you. You keep an eye on these and see what you think of them. And she said, great. I actually have some books that I want to recommend to you. So can we do a kind of a book swap and I'll send you over what I have and you send me what you have. I said, great. Why don't you just send me everything that you have? Send me everything over. And she said, absolutely. I'm not going to tell you what the books are, but I'm going to send you some. And 2 days later, through my post box, arrived all 8 books in the Bridgerton series. I am not going to go through all of these and all of the synopsises. I have not seen a single second of the Bridgerton series because I want to read the books first. I have only read the first one. I gave up about 70% or so of the way through because of a particularly difficult scene to read. But now that I know that the scene is there, now that I know how it was handled, maybe it's one that I can go back to and maybe I can give a try to all 8 books in the entire series. My friend Margaret from The Word Nerd has also just done a deep dive into the first 4 books of the series, and I really want to have somebody to talk about them with. So once I've got all of these books read, I am definitely going to go and have a chat with Margaret. But before I do that, why don't you go and check out what her thoughts on the books were? There is an entire stack of books that I should not have taken into my home so early, but what's done is done. Have you bought any books recently, or what is the most recent book that you took off your TBR? If you would love to leave me a comment but you can't think of anything you'd like to say, then just leave me the money bags emoji. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.